We all love our round brushes, but there's so many more brushes to explore. Could it be easier, do you think, to paint beautiful florals with a flat brush rather than a round one? I wonder. My name's Annika, and I'm here to show you that it is possible. And even if you're a beginner, you can actually totally amaze yourself with the variety that you can create. So let's get cracking. Today I'll be using two brushes. The first is an Art Basics Squirrel Mix Short Flat number 8, and I thought it was a 1/2 inch, but in fact when I measure it, it's a 3/4 inch brush. And then I'll be using a very inexpensive brush that I bought for the grandkiddies, and this is a 5/8 flat brush. And when I measure it, it seems more like 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's what I'm using. And looking at these brushes close up, they don't have a point, but they do have a chisel type edge. And this is the most important feature of this brush. Keeping that edge nice and sharp and clean helps you create numerous strokes. So you can then create wide strokes or thinner strokes or really thin strokes or circles or zigzags or M's. You can do anything, and we're going to explore these features with both brushes. And the reason I'm using this inexpensive brush today is also to show you that even if you don't own super expensive brushes, it doesn't matter, because you can still create beautiful floral paintings. I'm using Winsor Newton paints. This nifty little pocket packet I call it, that I bought when visiting London a few years ago. I've sprayed down my colours, and now I'm going to show you how I prepare my brush. I dip my brush in water and transfer this water to my palette like that, and then I can pick up paint, this soft and juicy paint, and I swirl it around gently, but I really like to maintain the sharp edge of my brush. So all I'm doing is really continually shaping my brush whilst I'm mixing the paint. So I can either go for more paint and just mix it around. I do little circles to release the paint and then tap it on the edge, and then just little strokes like this and flip my brush over. But that's how I like to do it. In saying that, what I don't want to do is I don't want to squash my brush, make it all disfigured or anything. I just want to keep it as flat as possible all times. It's like molding it for a special purpose. So with the flat brush, the first thing that comes to mind is a flat stroke. So we just lay the edge on the paper and drag it along nicely. And there's our flat stroke. I'm now going to use the smaller brush. As you can see, there is a difference between them. The Squirrel Mix brush has created a much cleaner, more even stroke. That's what you pay for. And the small one, well, it's a little bit more broken up. But I'll just make sure that I have plenty of paint on my brush and that it's saturated right through. So I'm pressing it into the paint, moving it backwards and forwards, removing any excess, and then giving it another go. And it's a bit better this time. This exercise has turned into a double whammy, as we're also comparing the performance of these two brushes. The cheaper brush also has some pooling there, so I have to blend it out. But that's okay. I know you don't all have expensive brushes, and I've painted with plenty of inexpensive ones and got by. Now, what would happen if we wiggled it around a little bit in a wavy line? Well, that's interesting. They're beautiful little curves. They would be so hard to do with a round brush. Now I'll load up my smaller brush. Yeah, and that's not too bad. So above we have a long soft wave. What if we were to do a little zigzag? Look at that. The mind just boggles. You could do anything with that. Now I will do this with the smaller brush. So what we're exploring today, and the purpose of these brushes, is to see what kind of organic shapes we can make with these brushes without having to think about it too much. So we've done a flat stroke, and now we've done a zigzag. But look, this is an interesting little flower you could do. And you know what? The smaller brush works well too. Look at that. Maybe a type of carnation. For this next stroke, I'm pressing the whole edge of the brush onto the paper and then just giving it a twist or a spin to the right. Now we'll try that with the smaller brush. It feels a bit different, but that's to be expected. It still makes a nice mark. So for this brush stroke, maybe something like this. So with the brush down and giving it a bit of a twist. Now I'll try the small one. And now we'll turn the page. Let's have a look at some more strokes. What if I was to place the edge down and just wiggle around and come back to the start? So I'm placing my edge down, going up, wiggling around and coming back down. If I was to mark this out with a marker, I would place it down, extend up, wiggle it around and come back down. So let's just do another one. Edge down, go up, wiggle and come back down. And you can fill in the gap or not, it doesn't matter. We better try it with the smaller brush. I'm placing the edge down, going up, wiggling around and coming back. Edge down, wiggle around and back. And you can make some pretty little flowers with this. Now let's try this petal. We could we'll press the edge down and go up and wiggle. And now with the smaller brush, all you've got to do is fill in the gap. Now let's try another one. How about we place the edge on the paper, we go up and just do a smooth little curve and then come back down. So now with the marker, edge down, extend up, smooth little curve and back to the start. So we'll do another one. Edge down, extend up, smooth curve and back to the start. Now for this petal. So like this down and then swing it around. It's a more of an elongated petal. Maybe we'll just do that. All you need to do to get good at this is just to play. Play, practice, and be patient. Small brush. And you know, you might find your own way of creating these petals. I'm just giving you some startup tips. Now for another petal, something a little bit like a heart. So the edge goes down, we go up, create a heart shape or like a number 3 shape and come back down. If this was a real heart, we would have to angle, let's say to 10 o'clock first, do the number 3 and then come down. Now to do all this with a small brush. Up, around and down. So I can't really complain about either of the brushes. The squirrel, well, that's all very nice and soft and flexible. And the cheaper brush, well, it's not bad. So if you can get your hands on anything, it's really worth the effort. I'm going to make copies of these sheets so that you can download them and have a practice. And ask me any questions you like so that it'll help us both. Now I'm thinking that these heart shapes will be really good for some clover. Now for a smaller clover. Little heart shape. Maybe we all need a 4-leaf clover. Now for another nifty little stroke. If I touch the paper with the bottom of my flat brush first, and then I press onto the body until I see the tip of the brush touch the paper, and then quickly pull down and release, I'll end up with a daisy petal. So I'm pressing down with the bottom edge of the brush and then pressing down until I see the top touch the paper and then pull down. It works better when you do it more quickly, and that's what you get. And you know, the small brush does them beautifully. So now with the marker, the bottom corner of the brush goes down first, then we press the rest of the edge down till you see the tip, and then you just pull it down. So pressing down on the bottom edge first, and look at these lovely strokes. They're just so much like daisy petals. Or maybe like this. Okay, now let's use our smaller brush. Just lovely. You really need to give this a go. Then of course you can get some thicker yellow if you like. Put it in the middle. Now let's turn the page. We'll do a few more strokes together and then we'll put them all together in a little flower painting. With the sharp edge of my brush, I can create a stalk or a spiky type of plant. And a little one too. Now for some dainty leaves with the bigger brush, and then some smaller ones with the smaller brush. And adding some little stalks, simply with the edge of the brush. I've created a stalk with the edge of the bigger flat brush, and now just simple flat strokes towards the middle. And on the other side, using the smaller brush. Now let's do a serrated leaf. All we need to do is some zigzags and then straighten the center line and zigzags from the other side. Here it was easier to start from the top and go down because it was the natural flow for my right hand. And then the little brush. It does a great job. And then a wavy leaf. I start at the bottom, go up to the top and come down from the top to the bottom on the other side. Could you ever imagine creating so many different organic shapes all with a flat brush? If you were to devote a little bit of time in your artistic practice to play with your flat brush, you would just learn so much. So I really encourage you to, if you see the joy in this, just practice because that's all you need to do and you'll just get better and better at it. There we go. And now if you'd like to sit back and relax, I'll put all these strokes together in a little painting. So Thanks for watching, and let's see how we go.